Ron Marr.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and can I firstly take the moment just to congratulate my whanaunga, my extended whanaunga from Ngāti Raukawa and Te Arawa on today's great achievement. Congratulations, whānau. Well done. I also want to take the opportunity to reinforce my colleagues' comments about a person I've often described as the Uriah Heep of New Zealand's Parliament, the Honourable Tony Ryall, for all of those same reasons that Mr Jones just recounted to the House. And one of the most despicable things that I can ever think of is that one who would be a partner of a person and who would feed information and intelligence from his government to his opponents in order to bring down Tukuroi, Rangi Morgan and Tohinari. And the Uriah Heep of New Zealand Parliament needs to be recognised for what he is. Trust him? Sure can't. I want to say, isn't it interesting, once again in the recent weeks we have had the scourge of gangs emerging back on our streets. And it did not go unnoticed by New Zealand First that down in the deep dark south an Invercargill mongrel mob leader would make the headlines by espousing and telling the nation that he's turned a corner, changed his life, sought to steer his gang away from crime, sought to give up their weapons and give up their ways of violence. And within a week he's back in the headlines. In fact, he's under arrest. He's behind bars with allegations of arson and the same old criminal goings-on that have brought Māori into disrepute for generations. It's interesting because I've heard people in this House say, oh, the mongrel mob's turning their way around. In fact, I've been to a state-funded celebration out at Silverstream, which happens every year, courtesy of the government funding and Kim Workman from the Prison Fellowship, where they line up the mongrel mob complete with their patches, and they tell us all they've changed their ways. Well, tell that to Hastings, tell that to Flaxmere, tell that to Invercargill. And over the last few days you would have seen New Zealand First asking the Minister a few simple questions. How many patch gang members, their affiliates, their associates exist in this country? And the Minister tells us 3,000 to 3,500. Well, that's interesting because the former Minister, George Hawkins, told this House there was 10,000 in 1995 and 21,282 in 2002. So what are they saying? The numbers have gone down? We don't think so. And why do we have this situation? Why is that of concern to New Zealand First? I'll tell you why it's a concern to New Zealand First. Because to deal with a problem, you first have to accept you have one. You can't reform an alcoholic if they don't say, I'm an alcoholic. You can't change the face of gangs or of this nation and the turmoil that the gangs unleash on us and the impact they have on our children by feeding them dope and pee if you don't admit to how many there are. It's interesting, Detective Inspector Patrick Boyle of the Asian Casino Squad in Victoria Police in 2005 reported to the Winston Churchill Memorial Trust of Australia and stated, one of the factors that pose the greatest barrier to successfully addressing a gang problem is the denial of a gang presence. I would add to that, or the minimising of the size and extent and the impact that that presence has in your community. And if we fail to do that, Mr. Speaker, we condemn ourselves to their future that they dictate. We condemn our current children, our current grandchildren and our future great-grandchildren to the same scourge and the same impact, and we then watch them as they all get flushed down the toilet as well. It's interesting and it's poignant right now. Today's settlement marks a new step forward for many Māori, and the only thing that holds us back is those primeval Neanderthals in our presence who destroy our mana, who destroy our reputation, who take our tupuna's legacy and spit upon it by consistently and continually to attack us and wider New Zealand the way they do. It's time this House, it's time this government accepted we have a huge problem. Police Association on television last week saying they believe there are 6,000 members. They believe that each one of them has 5 to 10 associates. They believe that the problem is not 3,000, it's 60,000, the size of Napier. And I'll tell Dr. Wayne Mapp what we will do. New Zealand First has told him for 12 years, but he's got wax in his ears. Actually, he just doesn't want to know because it's too hard, it's too tough, because he and his government failed for generations, despite all the hard talk, despite all the ranting now. New Zealand First says the first step you must do is make it a priority. Lead it from the top. Separate it out from policing. Make sure that you pass legislation to make it illegal to be a member of a gang. And don't tell me what the wannabe National Party are going to do. They've never, ever done it, Wayne.
Honourable member.